Hello, this is Rochelle Green of Rochelle Insurance Girl Incorporated. I am your health advisor, which means I am the health insurance and health tips advisor. So this is the first segment that I'm launching of Just for the Health of It, and I'll be coming to you on a regular basis just with some quick tips. I do a lot of research in the field of health insurance and the field of the health medical industry, the cost of medicine. So I'm just bringing you some of those tips to help bring some value, make sure that you're not overpaying for the very expensive health insurance or for very expensive medical treatments. So today I'm going to talk to you about the difference and the extremely huge difference between a trip to the emergency room versus the trip to an urgent care room. So an urgent care facility is a standalone, it's kind of like a doctor's office that's going to be able to see a lot of emergencies. Very often they're open 24/7, and it's going to really keep your costs down if you're able to avoid the emergency room. So in light of that, I'm not going to pretend like we can always avoid the emergency room. There are definitely going to be emergencies, that broken leg, that heart attack scare, where you really do need to go to the emergency room. But you might be surprised just how well your local urgent care can service those needs at a fraction of the cost. Because I do a lot of research and I keep in very close contact with my clients, I want to make sure we understand how our insurance works and that we understand how that trip to the ER, is it going to break the bank or not. Because this is the true facts of today. It used to be when you go to the emergency room, you would have a small copay and insurance would pick up the rest of it. Very few insurances these days under the age 65 market have those flat copays. And it's gotten more complex, but the reason is because these emergency room facility fees are exorbitant. They are just out of control. That means you have basically a cover charge, that's the emergency room facility fee, just to walk through the door of an emergency room. And that could be an emergency room at a hospital. It could also be an emergency room that's a standalone ER. So consumer, just be aware that if you go to a standalone emergency ER and it says ER really big out front, it is going to be billed from the hospital type of billing. You will get an emergency facility fee. So how much are those? I can tell you that here in Florida, here in the Tampa Bay area, those facility fees range anywhere from $2,300 to $3,600. So hopefully you haven't had to experience one of those surprise bills from the ER, because that is the reality of it. And again, no insurance is going to pay 100% of that these days. If you had something like your child had an ear infection or spiked a fever, or there's like a kidney infection or the flu, these are the things that are good examples of when we really can go to an urgent care facility and it's really acted, or it's really treated like a doctor visit. So a lot of my clients don't even have copays when they go to the doctor's office, and a lot of times that's how the urgent care facility is going to work if they go in network. And that's a big deal. You're going to hear more and more, and I'm sure you have, about this surprise billing through the hospitals, and you're going to hear a lot more about that because these hospitals are staffed with physician staffing companies, and they are very big and broad, and they are widespread. That means that these physician staffing companies take care of staffing the hospitals for the emergency room, all the specialists they need. That's a huge headache for the hospitals, and they're taking that away from the hospitals, and they're saying, hey, we're going to make sure you have that ER doctor whenever somebody calls in sick. We're going to make sure you have those surgeons that are going to be able to come in. And oh, by the way, we're going to do all the billing for those doctors. And oh, by the way, they don't take insurance. So this is where it's coming from. There are big companies, big corporations, these physician staffing companies, they're nationwide, and I'm finding that they're being bought up by private equity groups. Now we're talking about the big money that moves the markets and the big money that moves legislation. This is not an issue of left or right wing. This is a legislative issue that is being supported by both sides, by these lobbyists and these special interests that are really protecting, people these surprise billings, basically, where some legislature is trying to ban them. There's a lot more behind the legislation that is keeping them in place. So I don't expect that to go anywhere, no matter, regardless of the hype in the news. So that's just one of the reasons why emergency rooms are so much more expensive. You end up in the emergency room, you need an MRI, that's probably going to be $3,000 to $6,000. I've seen the bills. If you're able just to go to urgent care and go down the street to, a radiology place, that's more like, $300 to $600 for an MRI versus $3,000 to $6,000 at the hospital. So I always just want to make sure I'm educating you guys, making sure you're getting the best value. I don't ever want to see anybody else stuck with a huge emergency room bill just for a really quick trip and a quick trip to the emergency room. So find out where your local urgent cares are, find out if they take your insurance, and you can certainly prevent from breaking the bank. So this is Rochelle. I'm here just for the health of it. I'll look forward to speaking to you next week.